Have you ever noticed that the loudest person in the room is rarely the one with the most in the bank? In cities like New York, London, or San Francisco, we've been conditioned to believe that wealth is a visual performance. We see a high-end German SUV idling in a driveway in a manicured suburb or a designer handbag placed carefully on a cafe table in Paris, and our brains immediately categorize that person as successful. But there's a quiet, almost invisible line that separates the people who look like they've made it from the people who actually have. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between being rich and being wealthy. It's a distinction that sounds like semantics, but for most of us, it's the difference between a lifetime of quiet anxiety and a lifetime of actual, sustainable freedom. Let's look at a scenario that is playing out in every major economy right now. Let's call him Thomas. Thomas is 29, works in mid-level management or a specialized tech role, and earns a respectable $95,000 a year. In many circles, he's considered a high earner. He feels like he's winning. But let's look at the cold, hard math after the system takes its cut. After federal and state taxes or national insurance and high-income tax brackets in Europe, Thomas sees about $5,900 a month hit his bank account. He lives in a modern apartment in a trendy district because he's worked hard and deserves a nice place. That's $2,400 gone instantly. He drives a leased luxury car because, in a professional circle, your car is your business card. That's $700 a month, plus another $200 for premium insurance and fuel. Then there are the student loans, the good debt we're told is an investment in our future, at $450. Add in a high-end gym membership, a few premium streaming services, and the cost of maintaining a social life that matches his peers in expensive city bars. And Thomas is left with maybe $700 at the end of the month. To the outside world, Thomas is rich. He has the artifacts of success. He looks like the person we are told to emulate. But Thomas is one bad performance review, one corporate restructuring, or one medical emergency away from a total collapse. He isn't building wealth. He is merely a high-volume pipe that money flows through. He is rich by the definition of his consumption, but he is fundamentally, structurally fragile. He is working for his objects rather than his objects working for him. The mistake Thomas is making, the mistake many of us are making right now, is confusing income with wealth. Richness is a function of your current cash flow. It's about what you can afford to buy today. Wealth, however, is what you don't see. Wealth is the cumulative power of the income that has been diverted away from consumption and into assets that grow while you sleep. Let's look at the real long-term cost of Thomas's leased Audi. It isn't just a $700 monthly payment. In the world of true wealth, we use a concept called opportunity cost. If Thomas had driven a reliable pre-owned vehicle and invested that $700 into a simple, diversified, low-cost index fund yielding a conservative 7 to 8%, in just 10 years, he would have roughly $125,000. Instead, at the end of 10 years of consecutive leasing, Thomas will have zero equity and a decade of memories of sitting in heated leather seats. He paid over $80,000 for the privilege of looking successful, while the person who prioritized wealth turned that same $80,000 into a six-figure safety net that provides permanent psychological security. This is the hidden tax on the middle class. We are pressured by marketing, by social media, and by our own peers to spend our tomorrow just to look important today. And the math is brutal. Every dollar you spend on a depreciating luxury today is not just a dollar gone. It is $10 or $20 of your future freedom that you have set on fire. Why do we do this? Why does an intelligent, rational human being choose a depreciating asset over financial security? It's rarely about greed or a lack of intelligence. It's about social signaling and evolutionary psychology. In our ancestral tribes, status was survival. Today, status is signaled through positional goods. If everyone in your office or your social circle lives in a certain neighborhood or wears a certain brand, your brain interprets a failure to match them as a loss of status, as being less than. We feel a literal, psychological pain when we perceive ourselves falling behind. But here is the uncomfortable truth that the rich person never realizes. Most people aren't looking at you. They are too busy looking at themselves. When someone sees you in that luxury car, they aren't thinking about how successful or smart you are. They are using your car as a prop to imagine themselves behind the wheel. We spend money we haven't even earned yet, to buy things we don't even need, to impress people we don't even like, who are too busy thinking about themselves to notice us anyway. This leads us to the hedonic treadmill. As your salary increases, your expectations and your needs rise in tandem. You get a $15,000 raise, and suddenly, the apartment that felt perfect last year feels cramped or outdated. The cycle resets. Your income is higher, you look richer to your neighbors, but your net wealth remains at zero. You are running faster, but you aren't moving forward. Now, let's shift the perspective. How does someone who is actually wealthy, not just high income, behave? A wealthy person views every dollar as a worker. Their goal is to put as many of these workers to task as possible. They understand that $100 spent on a fancy dinner or a designer t-shirt is gone forever. It's a worker that has been fired. But $100 invested in an asset is a seed that will eventually grow its own fruit. And then that fruit will drop its own seeds. Wealthy people don't care about the visuals of success until their assets can pay for them. There's a specific quiet rule of thumb followed by those who truly understand money. If you can't buy it twice with cash, you can't afford it. And even if you can, a wealthy mindset asks, does this asset produce or does it consume? A house you live in consumes money through taxes, maintenance, and interest. A car consumes through depreciation and insurance. A designer watch consumes capital that could have been productive. Conversely, a stock produces dividends. A rental property produces monthly cash flow. A business produces profit. True wealth is measured in time, not currency. If you stopped working today, right this second, how many months could you maintain your current lifestyle? For the rich person with high expenses and no assets, the answer might be 3 months. For the wealthy person, the answer is forever. That is the only definition of success that actually matters. Everything else is just theater. If you ignore this distinction, the impact isn't immediate. It's a slow-motion crisis that reveals itself too late. In your 20s and 30s, the rich lifestyle feels sustainable. You have the energy to work 60 hours a week. You have a career trajectory that seems infinite. But as you enter your 40s and 50s, the math of life begins to harden. If you have spent those 2 decades maintaining an image, you find yourself locked into a high-stress job because your lifestyle requires that specific salary. You cannot pivot to a more meaningful career. You cannot take risks. You cannot take a year off to be with your family. You cannot say no to a toxic boss. You have become a prisoner of your own success. You have a luxury car in the driveway, but you are too stressed to enjoy the drive. Conversely, the person who lived below their means, the person who was comfortable being the poorest-looking person in a room of high earners, eventually reaches a tipping point. Their assets begin to earn more than their physical labor ever could. They don't just have money, they have total autonomy. They don't look rich on Instagram, and they don't care. They own their time. And in the 21st century, where everyone is a slave to a notification or a paycheck, owning your time is the ultimate luxury. This isn't an argument for living a miserable, minimalist life. It isn't about never enjoying the fruits of your labor. It is about the order of operations. Richness is about the now. It's about immediate gratification and the dopamine hit of a new purchase. Wealth is about the forever. It's about building a fortress around your life that no economic downturn or corporate layoff can penetrate. The goal should be to be a stealth wealth individual. You want to be the person with a modest exterior and a massive productive balance sheet. There's a profound, quiet confidence that comes from knowing you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. When you stop trying to look rich, you finally give yourself the space and the capital to actually become wealthy. So, the next time you feel the urge to upgrade your lifestyle because of a raise, or because you saw someone else's highlight reel on social media, Ask yourself one question. Am I buying this to be wealthy? Or am I buying this to look rich? The answer to that question will determine the trajectory of the next 30 years of your life. It's a long game. It isn't flashy. It won't get you applause today. But one day, you'll look at your life and realize you bought something far more valuable than any luxury brand could ever sell you. You've bought your freedom. If this perspective resonated with you, and if you're interested in the slow, rational path to financial clarity, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll be here, analyzing the quiet reality of finance, one video at a time. Until next time.